You've heard the phrase, right? Even if you're not a huge football fan, you've probably heard it. One club that claims to be something different, something more. Today, we're diving into the story of FC Barcelona and what its legendary motto, Més que un club, actually means.
Okay, so here are the famous words first spoken back in 1968 by the club president, Narcís de Carreras. But here's the thing, he just gave it a name. The feeling, the idea behind it, well, that had been brewing for decades, forged in a whole lot of political fire and cultural pride.
So for anyone who doesn't speak Catalan, it's pretty simple, more than a club. But believe me, this isn't some slick marketing slogan they cooked up. It's a declaration. It's totally wrapped up in the story of Catalonia, a region with its own language, its own culture, and a history of fighting to preserve them.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? How does a bunch of people kicking a ball around become something so much bigger? Well, the story starts with a Swiss guy with a vision and a club that was about to completely disappear.
So let's start at the very beginning. We're going to look at how this whole thing was founded by a man named Johan Gamper and the incredible struggles that basically hammered this club's identity into shape for the next century.
I mean, just look at this timeline. This is a brutal way to start. You see right away how conflict is just baked into the club's story. It starts as this cool international thing, but by 1908, it's about to go under. Gamper saves it, but then the politics get intense. A dictator shuts down their stadium. Gamper himself meets a tragic end. And then, just chillingly, a club president is literally executed by Franco's soldiers. This is not your average sports story. It's about survival.
And this quote, wow, this just captures the fire at the heart of the club. When everything was falling apart in 1908, this is what Gamper said. For him, it wasn't a business move, it was a crusade. And that feeling that they were fighting for something more than just wins and losses, that got baked right into the club's DNA from day one.
Okay, so this is absolutely crucial. During the long Franco dictatorship, Catalan culture was basically outlawed. You couldn't speak the language publicly. But the football stadium, it became a sanctuary. The regime literally stripped the club of its Catalan name and crest. But inside the stadium, on match day, it was one of the only places people could speak their language and feel a sense of their identity. The club became like an unofficial embassy for a culture that was under attack.
So, the soul of the club was forged in resistance. But its footballing identity, the way it played the game, that was born from the mind of one man. When Johan Cruyff arrived in 1973, he didn't just change the team, he changed the entire idea of what Barcelona could be.
Cruyff's arrival was like a lightning bolt. He didn't just sign for a team, he made a massive political statement by turning down Madrid. Then he names his son Jordi, a Catalan name which was a huge act of defiance. And on the pitch, he just casually leads them to a 5-0 demolition of Real Madrid in their own stadium and wins the league for the first time in 14 years. The guy wasn't just a player, he was a revolutionary.
But his biggest mark, the one that truly changed everything, came when he returned as manager. You know, before him, Barca was a club that had its moments, but there was no real plan. After him, it became a club with an idea, a philosophy. He built a system, and at the heart of it all was the youth academy, La Masia. And this was his philosophy. It was totally groundbreaking at the time. It wasn't just about winning, it was about how you won. Keep the ball, move intelligently, press like crazy. But the real stroke of genius was number 4. He made a rule. Every single team at the club, from the tiny little kids all the way up, had to play this exact same way. He was basically building an assembly line for footballing genius.
And this is the heart of that assembly line, La Masia. It translates to the farmhouse, and that's literally what it was, an old farmhouse. But Cruyff turned this building into the most famous talent factory in the world. It was where you didn't just learn to play football, you learned to play Barcelona football.
And this quote, it's just perfect. Picture it. It's 1992, the biggest game in the club's history, the European Cup final. The pressure is insane. And Cruyff's last words to his team aren't some complicated tactic. He just says, go out and enjoy it. That was his whole philosophy in a nutshell. Freedom, creativity, joy. And yeah, of course, they went out and won.
All right, so if Cruyff was the architect who drew up the blueprints, our next chapter is about the master builder who took those plans and created arguably the greatest football team we have ever seen. And of course, he was a product of La Masia himself, Pep Guardiola.
Just look at that number, 6. In one calendar year, Pep Guardiola's team won every single trophy they could possibly compete for, the sextuple. It had never been done before. This was it,
This was the ultimate proof that Cruyff's vision worked. A team built with players from La Masia, playing the Barca way, and just conquering the entire world.
But if you need even more proof, this might be the most incredible stat of all. In 2010, the award for the best player in the world, the Ballon d'Or, the top 3 finalists were all from La Masia. Messi, Iniesta, Xavi. 1, 2, and 3. A single youth academy produced the 3 best players on the planet. That's just insane. That's the moment the Farmhouse officially took over the world.
Now later on, as the club ran into some trouble off the pitch, people tried to poke holes in that golden era. But Pep's defense was always simple and kind of brilliant. He basically said, look, it was a scandal how good we were. We won because we were just better. He always brought it back to the football, to the purity of what they did on the grass.
But you can't stay on top of the mountain forever. After Guardiola left and that legendary team got older, things started to get shaky. A period of crisis began that would seriously test what Mes que un club really meant.
And the years that followed were, well, they were rough. We're talking about massive financial problems, chaos in the boardroom, and some really disappointing results on the field. For the first time in a while, people were asking, has Barca lost its way? Is it still more than a club?
And so, when everything seemed to be falling apart, where did the club turn? They went back home. Back to their DNA. Back to La Masia. A whole new generation of unbelievable talent has burst onto the scene. Guys like Lamine Yamal, Cubarsí, Gavi. It just goes to show you, for Barcelona, the answer is almost always to look inside.
And that brings us right up to today. The story of Barcelona really is this constant cycle, right? Crisis, then rebirth. Always anchored to that same core identity. So the big question is, what's next? As these new kids take over, they're not just carrying the future of a football team. They're carrying the soul of a city and the responsibility of proving to a whole new generation that they are, still, more than a club.